Welcome to the Folk School on Willow Creek, featuring University Distinguished Professor Tom Easern, singing and telling stories from the Salon on Willow Creek.
I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the Hotdish Highway, on the great western prairie. I do the work of the Lord. My saddle's my pillow, and I reach for my board. I ride by my compass, and I steer by stars, like the three holy wise men who followed that beacon and came from afar. I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grub line on the Hotdish Highway. Now it's a Wyoming scatter, this flock on the land, coyotes and grizzlies will steal all they can, but the Lord is my shepherd, and I am his man. Still waters run deep in green pastures, I sleep with his guiding hand. I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the Hotdish Highway. Now someday a white steeple is gonna rise in the air. I'll preach from a pulpit, investment so fair, but thy grace is sufficient and constant thy care. God rest this good land, and the work of our hands establish it there. I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the Hotdish Highway. I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the Hotdish Highway. So this week started out with all three stanzas of Hotdish Highway, our usual theme song, and there's a reason for that, because earlier this week I was on the Hotdish Highway, which in this case was North Dakota Highway 32, leading to Lisbon, North Dakota, as guests of Sargent County Extension, invited there by Katie Maris to be part of the Aging in Community program. They were having a hot dish contest. Now, for those not from this strange part of the country, a hot dish is what you might call a cover dish in another part of the country. A little bit different meaning. More likely you'll call it a casserole. But here it's a hot dish. It's an open question whether it's an open compound or a closed compound. Should there be a space between hot and dish? But it's clearly accent on the first syllable or word, whichever that is. Hot dish. It's a hot dish, which usually involves cream and mushroom soup and other stuff. So I went out to sing about the Hotdish Highway and to talk a little bit about food as culture on the Northern Plains. It was a lovely evening, actually. Yeah.
And how many casseroles?
About a dozen. About 60 people and about a dozen casseroles. I don't know, the appetites weren't that big because they didn't clean them out, I don't know.
Oh, what does that mean?
That means it was a Social Security eligible crowd is what it means. Yeah, well tonight, so that's one theme I suppose for tonight, the Hotdish Highway that I've been engaging in this week. Got another proposition. This week was, did you know it was North Dakota Day? Or did you just, that
I
just
did know it was a
slide
birthday.
right past you, right?
Yeah.
Commemorating the admission of North Dakota, South Dakota, and 2 other states of the Omnibus Bill of 1889 to the Union. So we got to do something North Dakota. The problem is, the state song of North Dakota stinks to high heaven. It's by James Foley, who's written some pretty good poetry. But he wrote it after he'd moved to California. It's not his best effort. The North Dakota, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum. You know. I'll tell you what would make a better state song. What do you think?
I know where this is going.
Where's this going?
With our friend Chuck Suchy.
Yes, indeed, by God. Chuck Suchy, our great balladeer in this state, Chuck Suchy, who I regard as a model as well as a friend. Dance Dakota, or Dancing Dakota, the fine waltz that he wrote for the centennial of North Dakota as our centennial balladeer in, I almost said 1889. Chuck's not that old. He's about the same age as me, so yeah, he is that old. 1989. So with respects to our great balladeer, we'll do Dance Dakota in just a minute, Dancing Dakota, in commemoration of North Dakota Day. Because I don't know how it is, I know how it is in other states. Other states like Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas, they make a big deal out of their state days. The North Dakota and South Dakota do not. So here we are. But we're going to right now.
Well, if we had a great song, maybe
yes.
we'd feel differently about it.
You know, Dancing Dakota, God, that would be perfect, like for an inaugural ball, you know, to lead off the evening. Dance Dakota.
Are you going to talk about trying to get legislation to decree it as
the state waltz? Yeah, we took a run at that. I'm not giving up on that. Got some other thoughts about that too, but that's another night. What do you say? Dancing Dakota. Do we have any special guests on the chat line yet tonight?
They're all special. We have a commissioner out there.
Commissioner
MJ Bremer.
Montana, though. Montana.
Well, it's still good work.
Well, you know, the Grizz aren't showing much this year, so it's hard to. We don't have to show excessive respect for Montana the way the Grizz are performing on the football.
People are reporting some pretty significant weather. So Kansas with 85-mile-per-hour winds. Places with
God, I hope it's carrying some rain with it, but it should have done it a month and a half ago.
Melvina said winter arrived at noon today in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City is winter? What is winter in Oklahoma City?
I asked if it involved any snow. I don't know.
Some people might have put long pants on today.
Took off the flip-flops.
The music is calling, quiet and clear. A voice gently falling on the listening ear. It calls from the river, the wind and the trees. It calls, I know you. Do you know me? For I am a dancer. I am a dance. I am a dreamer, living romance. I am all ages, timeless I be. I am Dakota, will you dance with me? Dance, Dakota, far as you see. Dance and your spirit renew. Dance, Dakota, long may we be. Dancing Dakota with you. I am the magic of a midwinter night. I am the warmth of a spring morning bright. The aura of autumn in quiet repose, a sunset of summer, a wild prairie road. I have been dancing for thousands of years, with many for partners I've danced joy and tears. To the flags o'er me flown, I've given a chance. I am Dakota, may I please have this dance. Dance, Dakota, far as you see. Dance and your spirit renew. Dance, Dakota, long may we be dancing, Dakota, with you. I dance with the sun, I dance with the rain, I dance with the ones who come home again. I dance with justice and with dignity. I am Dakota, will you please dance with me? Dance, Dakota, far as you see. Dance and your spirit renew. Dance, Dakota, long may we be dancing, Dakota, with you. Dancing, Dakota, with you. Thanks. Thank you, Chuck, for giving us that anthem and a waltz. A great song about a prairie state should always be in waltz time, without doubt. Don't you think? Well, is there any news from NDSU Press this week, or have you just been sitting around?
I do have some news. There was a clandestine meeting in the parking lot at Randy's Diner today. There 3 strange and suspicious characters met with 3 different cars.
This doesn't have anything to do with Proposition 2 here, does it?
No. We were transferring chapbooks from one car to another. Our Surrender Dorothy chapbook that was our Poetry of the Plains and Prairies Prize winner this year. The students printed it up a few weeks ago. We needed to have it stitched and trimmed, and that got delivered today. So this weekend, Anna, one of our students, is numbering each one of the 275 copies. And next week we'll be shrink wrapping them and getting them ready to sell. So we're really excited to be moving this out, and they'll be out and ready before holidays.
Who was your mule bringing in the chapbooks today?
That was our good friend Alan Burke. Yes, so he made the haul from Bismarck to Randy's Diner today. He was on his way to Crookston, though, to visit kids and grandkids.
Excellent.
Yes. And then also tonight, our cover designer, Jamie, is submitting the cover for Rethinking Rural, Volume 1, to our printer. So that's getting uploaded. The interior goes up on Monday, and so we'll have that book out. It'll be available in about 5 or 6 weeks after the printers do their work. So yes, things are rolling along.
Well, you're a wonder, Kay.
Yeah. I have good help.
I always like to bring in something newly discovered. Maybe not every week, but most week something has turned up. Sometimes a whole stack of stuff turns up. I keep saying it's a little bit like picking rock in North Dakota. Every spring the ground heaves up a bunch of new ballads here. And the one I have here before me is Walter Hard's Lament. Now, who the heck is Walter Hard? You never heard of him. That's why I love it. Nobody's ever heard of Walter Hard or his lament. I will say, if you want to search in the old newspapers for ballads, start with one of your keywords being lament. That's the bachelor's lament, the printer's lament, and so on. This is Walter Hard Lament. Now, who the heck is Walter Hard, as I say? Well, here is his name, Walter Hard, proprietor of the Palace Buffet, Judith Gap Journal, Montana, March of 1910. Now, by buffet, don't get the idea that this is, like a modern all-you-can-eat buffet. This is that 19th century custom of the free lunch. How do you get people to come to your bar? You feed them.
That still works.
It still works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, he's an old-time range cowboy from Montana who, instead of just riding off into the sunset, settled into Judith Gap and opened a saloon. Walter, now, the reason I like his lament here is both, first off, he's a singing publican. He's a singing saloon keeper. And so it's his song. And it turns out, across the prairies, there are these singing businessmen. They're grocers, they're publicans, saloon keepers. What Mike has it, the other Montana merchant, dry goods, clothing merchant. And they're all writing ballads. There's a thing there. We're going to have to explore a little bit later and sometime, maybe in another episode here. But he's one of these singing businessmen. And here in November 1910, I see a news notice about Mr. Hard. Walter Hard gives a banquet is the headline. And a 6-course spread prepared and served in Coleman's restaurant. On each plate was a carnation, the center of the table decorated with some popular variety of flower. The menu was as follows. And what you get? Okay, this guy knew how to entertain in Judith Gap in 1910. Grapefruit, oyster cocktail. This is November, so oysters start to come in season, you see. Fresh oyster from the East Coast. Consomme à la princesse. Celery. If you have oysters in those days, you had to have celery with them. Olives, salted almonds. Now, let's get down to a main course. Roast duck with applesauce. Creamed potatoes, glazed sweet potatoes, and baked squash. Sliced tomatoes. Where they're getting sliced tomatoes in November, I don't know. Asparagus tips with hollandaise. Beverages, sherry, Johannesburg, and I have no idea what that is. And claret. Next course, sweetbread salad with cheese straws, followed by roast turkey, chestnut dressing, cranberry jelly, dessert, English plum pudding, brandy sauce, pumpkin pie, mince pie, assorted fruit, black coffee, green tea, and Key West cigars. Now, what's the occasion for Walter's banquet? Several good toasts were given before and after the many wine courses were served. The gist of the short speech is being the good fellowship of the host and the careful training that Nellie the bear is entitled to and should receive. So the banquet is a thank you gesture for the boys from town who helped Walter capture, it has to be a black bear, a grizzly bear would have killed him, capture a black bear alive and bring it back to put on exhibit to attract custom to the bar. Free lunch not being enough, you see, you need a bear. About 6 months later, this news item. Walter Hard's pet bear, Nellie Bruin, found a weak link in her chain, so proceeded to get loose a few days ago, and as she is confined in a flimsy enclosure, it was up to Walter to do something heroic or back to the woods for Nellie. Walter is somewhat of a rope thrower, having punched steers over these plains long before the reaper was heard in the land, and it did not take him long to have Miss Bruin noosed. Passing the rope to Charlie Coleman, Walter bravely walked into the den and attempted to refasten the chain to Nellie's neck. She objected to this familiarity and grabbed Walter's hand in her mouth, biting it severely. Sometimes I wrestle the bear, sometimes the bear wrestle me, is the way Mr. Hard describes the incident. But the bear was soon under control and is again cavorting in her enclosure near the palace buffet for the amusement of the general public. Walter, in the meantime, is drawing the ambient fluid with one hand while the other is undergoing repair. Walter, quite a man about town. When they're having old settler days, he would organize the committee for horse sports, bring in bucking horses and that sort of thing. I followed him through the newspapers because all the interesting stuff he was up to, going out to see his old cowboy friends in the snowy mountains nearby, his relatives coming out to visit from Iowa, refitting his bar room with new fixtures in 1911, entertaining his friends continually. At one point, noting that he's made a special arrangement for dried beef with the local butcher for the daily Dutch lunches to be served in the bar to bring in custom, the calendars he gave out to his friends. And then I came to November of 1913. Brother of Walter Hard dies in England. His brother was, evidently he kept what amounted to a livery in their hometown in the old country. And that made me kind of sad when I came to that, so I stopped looking it up. And we got the context for his Lament, which I'm about to bring to you. Walter Hard's Lament. Oh, for the days of the happy past, the life of the open plain, the sight of the purple hilltops to gladden my eyes again. A glimpse of a western sunset with streaks of crimson light, mingled with gold and orange that fade far into the night. Oh, to hear the yelps of the coyotes from some nook in a sheltered rock, and see the campfire gleaming where the herder watches his flock, to ride on the midnight guard around the fretsome steers, to keep any startling noise away from their listening ears, and to be once more the cowboy whose home was the prairie wide, ere the sound of the locomotive changed the course of the prairie tide. Oh, I long for the day of the olden times when every man was king, when the hoofs of the feeding beef herd sounded better than anything. Scenes are gone with the 80s that are dreams of the bygone day, and the would-be cowboy of 1912 doesn't work in our same old way. Oh, for the days of the happy past, the life of the open plain, the sight of the purple hilltops to gladden my eyes again. Well, Walter, someday I'll go back to find out just what became of Walter Hard. But I like him already. Well, the things we've been celebrating, hot dishes, yeah. Dakota Day, Reformation Day. This past week too, and that was another reason for doing Hotdish Highway, because it's got a little bit of that evangelical fervor to it, doesn't it? And now we come to a ballad, which is kind of our feature for the evening. This is a well-known Western ballad. People may have heard it sung by Marty Robbins or someone like that in fairly recent time. Even though when I keep saying Marty Robbins is contemporary, I have to remember, no, he's not. He is to me.
He looks forever young on the photo album.
Yeah, that's right.
Or the record album.
We're going to put it into the song bag tonight. We're going to put a ballad called After the Roundup, which if you've heard it, you've actually probably heard it sung under the title of When the Work's All Done This Fall by D.J. O'Malley, it turns out, of Montana. Dr. Kelly, tell us a little more about that provenance of this ballad.
All right. The text here presented for After the Roundup was published by John Lomax in 1910 under the title When the Work is Done This Fall, although later singers commonly rendered this more colloquially as When the Work's All Done This Fall. After the Roundup is the title given it on the first publication in the Stock Growers Journal of Miles City, Montana in 1893. Whatever we call it, After the Roundup illustrates how even when original composition of a song is directly traceable, its authorship can be obscured in passage through folk circulation. The record of that circulation is remarkably sparse. Assiduous searching of period newspapers discloses no journalistic publication of the ballad following its debut in 1893. When Lomax catches it for his 1910 publication, the song has evolved considerably in a manner that most singers and commentators say improved upon the original text, which had some clunky lines. The Lomax text was important to its evolution, but did not fix it. Carl Sandburg sang and published the song with changes in names, and he transformed the dying old cowpuncher into a boy, perhaps in the interest of poetic pathos. Among the many recording artists who picked up the song was Lomax's one-time student from Texas A&M, Carl Sprague. Popular artists such as he tended to reduce the number of stanzas. It fell to the cowboy singer turned ballad scholar, John White, to sort out the disputed authorship of the song, which he extracted through personal contact and friendship with the author D.J. O'Malley. O'Malley, an old-timer from Montana's Open Range, wrote much cowboy poetry and published it in Montana newspapers, generally adopting the persona of the N-Bar-N Kid. But for the 1893 publication of After the Roundup, he signed himself D.J. White, while often referring to himself as Kid White. So perhaps O'Malley is himself responsible for some of the future confusion about his song credits. His biographer, John White, made the story of After the Roundup the subject of a chapter in his book, Get Along, Little Dogies. Jim Bob Tinsley, in He Was Singin' This Song, corrects some details, but credits White for the heavy lifting of discovery, how commercial appropriation of the ballad by a music publisher in 1929 smoked out its true author, who by then was living as an orchardist near Eau Claire, Wisconsin. O'Malley never claimed to have fashioned the melody for the song. He observed that cowboy singers sang it to the tune of After the Ball, and he may have had that tune in mind when writing it. 20th century singers, however, abandoned the waltz time of After the Ball and sang the cowboy ballad to a livelier 4/4 melody of unknown origin.
Some of you may have noticed me chuckling a little bit when Dr. Kelly mentioned clunky lines. I draft out a lot of background on these songs and sketch it out, and I'm following along on a script, and then what I hear coming from the other side of this ring light is edited text. What? Wait a minute. It just happens again and again, and usually it's quite a bit smoother. Dr. Kelly works it over. Okay, what do you tell us about the context of this song, Dr. K?
All right. O'Malley was a self-conscious, creative artist, well known to the members of the Montana Stock Growers Association, and so perhaps it is best not to commit to specific historic circumstances inspiring his ballad. He claims that the inspiration for it was an incident that took place in the summer of 1893 when he was writing for the N-Bar-N and a chap named Charlie Rutledge was repping for the XIT. Rutledge died when his horse stumbled and fell on him. O'Malley says he altered that detail to have Rutledge die in a stampede. Tinsley determines that O'Malley misremembered his details and conflated in memory two of his compositions, one of which was specifically titled Charlie Rutledge. Perhaps the most significant conclusion to draw from the circumstances around after the Roundup is that an individual creative work passed readily into vernacular circulation, from which it was transfigured into popular commercial music. The lines were fluid.
Jolly cowboys discussing plans of ease. Says one, I'll tell you something, boys, if you will listen, please. I am an old cowpuncher, and here I'm dressed in rags. I used to be a tough one and go on great big jags. But I have got a home, boys, a good one, you all know. Although I have not seen it since long, long ago. I'm a-going back to Dixie once more to see the ball. I'm a-going to see my mother when the work's all done this fall. After the roundup's over and after the shipping's done, I'm going straight home, boys, ere all my money is gone. I have changed my ways, boys, and no more will I fall. I'm going home, boys, when the work's done in the fall. When I left home, boys, my mother for me cried, begged me not to go, boys, for me she would have died. My mother's heart is breaking, breaking for me, that's all. And with God's help I see her when the work's all done this fall. You need my hanky? Are you going to laugh at...
No, I'm crying.
That very night this cowboy went out to stand his guard. The night was dark and cloudy and storming very hard. The cattle, they got frightened and rushed in wild stampede. The cowboy tried to head 'em, riding at full speed. While riding in the darkness, so loudly did he shout, trying his best to head 'em and turn the herd about. His saddle horse did stumble and on him did fall. The poor boy won't see his mother when the work's all done this fall. Well, his body was so mangled, the boys all thought him dead. They picked him up so gently and they laid him on a bed. He opened wide his blue eyes and looking all around, he motioned to his comrades to sit near him on the ground. Boys, send my mother my wages, the wages I have earned. For I'm afraid, boys, my last year I have turned. I'm going to a new range, I hear my master's call. Now I'll not see my mother when the work's all done this fall. Fred, you take my saddle, George, you take my bed, Bill, you take my pistol after I am dead. And think of me kindly when you look upon them all, for I'll not see my mother when the work is done this fall. Poor Charlie was buried at sunrise, no tombstone at his head. Nothing but a little board, and this is what it said. Charlie died at daybreak, he died from a fall, and he'll not see his mother when the work's all done this fall. Got any family on the chat line tonight?
I haven't seen people chiming in, so I don't know if my mom and my sister stepdad, nephew, niece-in-law. I don't know if they're out there tonight.
A group of jolly cowboys they are, huh?
I will say, Denise Lajmodier reminded us of another holiday that happened this week.
What she got?
National Sandwich Day.
I believe it's also National Bison Day today or tomorrow.
Oh.
Danny Stuckel is making note of that.
Okay.
Yeah, National. I can't keep track of all these.
Denise and I have had sandwich discussions before. This week she wrote about a favorite sandwich with lard and sugar sprinkled on it for a sandwich. But on a long drive we had one time, we talked about bologna sandwiches.
Yeah.
From our past, how my dad would buy this great big loaf of bologna, thick slice of it. So we'd have to put a slice on our sandwich, but we had lettuce and tomato and maybe some cheese and onion.
Well,
so I'd put it all together, but then I'd slide that bologna out.
I've heard people say that your dad often was full of bologna.
It's true.
Yeah, but we miss him nevertheless.
Yeah.
There's one other sort of holiday.
Another?
Yeah. Matter of fact, a lot of schools were not in session today, you know.
No.
Really?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Commonly, schools are not kept on the deer opener in North Dakota, and certain other states do the same thing. Today is the deer opener in North Dakota.
Okay.
And that's the subject of this week's calendar ballad, then. And we can probably assume that people who are with us online tonight are probably not deer hunters, and so you want to know what's going on, you're about to find out in the form of this ballad.
Okay, we have a request for you to hold up that mug, though. Denise recognized it as an NDSU author mug, and Judith asked to see, Judith Hammer
Check
asked
this
to see
side
the-
and get the title.
Yeah, so it's A Song for Leave.
Yep.
Written by Wayne Goodmanson.
Wayne Goodmanson.
Prose accompanied by his photographs here in North Dakota and tracing back his roots in Iceland.
Indeed.
So thanks for thanks for using that cup tonight.
Yep. And it is just water in there. Okay. Gotta try to remember how this goes. Will we fill our thermos for the drive from Bismarck or St. Paul? By 10 o'clock we will arrive with any luck at all. Home again, we hear the home place call. For Friday noon is open, dear, the best day of the fall. At stroke of noon, the shooting starts from every neighbor's farm, but well we know that most of them will not do any harm. One shot, one deer. 2 shots, maybe 1 deer. 3 shots, no deer at all. At Friday noon, we make some noise, the best day of the fall. Speaking sentimental, I can't do this without thinking of good old John Helgel and the many deer hunts we made in Griggs County. Come 6 o'clock, we rendezvous back at the bar and grill. We always gather at this place to eat and drink our fill. So count the heads, count the heads. Is everybody here? A kindly angel of the Lord.
Did you figure it out?
Yes. We knew this was going to happen some night, right in the middle of the folk school. My dear sainted mother would have this you know, throughout her later years, those fingers would just go haywire. And then she'd set them on the kitchen table and do there we are. Oh, let's start that stanza again. Come 6 o'clock, we rendezvous back at the bar and grill. We always gather at this place to eat and drink our fill. So count the heads, count the heads. Is everybody here? A kindly angel of the Lord has all brought us all safe here. Well, some fellows don't like deer meat 'cause they say it tastes like liver. It is a blessing of the land and nature is the giver. It's venison roast and venison steak, venison chili too, but most of all it's venison sausage ground up in our garage. Let's give it a try here. Where the deer and the antelope play. Whistle of his turf, a disco, a ding horn, and the skies are not cloudy all the day. I am the magic of the midwinter night. I am the warmth of the spring morning light. The aura of autumn in quiet repose. Sunset of summer, a wild prairie rose. Once more to be the cowboy whose home was the prairie wide at the sound of the locomotive. Change the course of the prairie tide. After the roundups are over and the shipping is done, I'm going straight home, boys, there all my money is gone. I've changed my ways, boys, no more will I fall. I'm going home, boys, when the work is done this fall. And the skies are not cloudy all day. Help me out of this, Dr. Kelly.
We now conclude today's edition of the Folk School on Willow Creek. We invite you to join us again next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time for more songs and stories.